and welcome to Sepang International Circuit for Round 8 of the 2015 Audi R8 LMS Cup. The Sepang International Circuit has been a favorite of drivers in Asia for a long time, and it is the second F1 track that the series will visit this year. Frankie Chen set a blistering Super Pole time yesterday in qualifying and is joined by Marchi Li on the front row of the grid. And the Swiss driver Rahul Frey will once again become a driver to watch and the starts on the second row of the grid alongside the Malaysian master Alex Yoong. As we're just halfway through such competitive season, there are still at least 6 drivers that remain in contention to win this year's title. So we wish all the drivers safe racing. Now it's our time to cross over to our commentators.
Thanks, Sophie. Well, welcome to Sepang International Circuit for the 4th event on the 2015 calendar, a season which has already seen some outstanding action. But before we get into things here in Malaysia, let's take a look back at how the action unfolded from Taiwan.
Pole with a record time in the pole shootout, with 2012 Cup champion Marchi Li alongside. Mortara led the field into turn 1, with Frankie Chen getting the jump on Li on the run out of turn 2, whilst behind them Thomas Fjordbach challenged reigning champion Alex Yoong. Keen to take back his second place starting position, Li attacked Cheng on the run into turn 5, with a late braking move up the inside, but there was contact mid-corner, with Cheng forced wide. Behind them Fjordbach and Yoong also came into contact, the Malaysian coming off second best, dropping him down the order. The action continued into turn 6, with both J-Fly cars running deep into the corner and off the circuit. Kevin Chen ultimately tagged the tyre wall, whilst local hero Jeffrey Lee recovered and continued to charge through the field, putting in a real masterclass of driving in the testing conditions to take the win from the recovering Frankie Chen and the impressive Thomas Fjordbach. Eduardo Mortara would start from pole position for round 6, which featured the first of 2 standing starts for the weekend. Mortara got away quickly, but Marchi Li had the jump off the line. Mortara did his best to try and keep the Hong Kong driver from leading into turn 1, but ultimately that failed, the 2012 champion leading through turn 2. Whilst they battled over the top position, the fast-starting Thomas Fjordbach worked his way through from the second row of the grid to make a brilliant move inside the 2 of them into turn 3 and take the lead. Turn 5 was where the action had been all weekend, and it looked like playing a big part of the round 6 result. But despite a big lunge from Mortara, Fjordbach was able to close the door on the exit. The action continued into turn 8, with Mortara making another move on the young Danish driver, which resulted in contact, forcing Fjordbach out of the event and Mortara into the steward's office post-race, before Marchi was forced offline looking for a way past at the notorious turn 5. He may have carried over 35 kilogram weight penalty from finishing second in the opening race, but Cheng claimed an emphatic victory. Cheng got a great start, but Patel's was better, the young Indian driver leading into turn 1, whilst the fast-starting Fjordbach and reigning champion Alex Yoong. Fjordbach made short work of Patel, punching his way through to the lead on the run to turn 10 before using his push to pass to open up a strong early lead. And not too far back yet, Ashraf Diwal, Alex Au and Kevin Chen in the equation. It got pretty heated too between Johnson Huang and Andrew Kim. KOU was in the wars too, and this wouldn't be the first time he'd figure in this race. Not too many bonuses for KOU. This is parked sideways in turn 2. How he got there, we still don't know, but this brought out the safety car. We're a couple of laps to go. You can see Thomas Fjordbach going past, and that would ultimately settle this race. You can see the field bunched up behind the safety car. That was it. There were 2 laps to go. They couldn't remove KO's car in time, and Thomas Fjordbach would take a fantastic victory.
Well, Sepang International Circuit, it's been a feature in a number of the seasons already of Audi R8 LMS Cup, and Graham Harvey, it's going to be warm, and that's probably not unexpected.
Oh, it's one of the joys of the season here. We're at the Sepang Circuit, 15 turns. As you probably know, it's 5.5 kilometres long, and it's got those legendary corners at turn 4, Langkawi. There's the Genting curve, 5 and 6 is the KLIA curve at turn 8, all the way through to the hard braking turn 14, where they go around about 80 kilometres an hour with Sunway Lagoon. Then they punch it all the way up to 240 kilometres up to turn 15, and then they complete 1 lap of this historic circuit, and if you're watching, it's going to be a great weekend. We've got some top class racing. If you're in Europe, grab yourself a coffee because you're going to see some close and exciting racing.
All right, Graham, let me ask you one thing. What are you going to predict to the weather to be as we see a bit of a spin there as they line up on the grid? And that looks like Rick Yun.
Yeah, the newcomer, Rick Yun. He's parked it a bit strangely. We're probably going to have to get that he's going to have to reverse and try and get that back on the straight and narrow.
Down to Rene Koneberg with Sophie on the grid.
Hi, Renee. Thank you so much for joining us in Malaysia again. And as we know, we're just halfway through such a competitive season. Who do you expect to be challenging in the lead today?
Yeah, I could see, if you look at the last 6 races, you saw actually that 6 times there was a new, different winner. So I hope this will happen also here in Malaysia. And if you look at the grid, we have actually 2 guys which we have to watch very closely. One is actually Marci. He doesn't have any weight. And I think as the first champion of the Audi R8 LMS Cup, he's really, really eager to show his potential here and win. Aditya is also in a good run. Yeah. So it's actually down to the weight issue. So if you don't have weight in the car, it's certainly a big benefit on this track here. So we will see what will happen.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. Now is our time to cross over to our commentators again.
Thanks, Sophie. It's looking a little bit interesting down there. Just getting to the grid, there has already been some level of drama, but it is going to be an interesting weekend here. We're talking about the weather conditions. It's very, very unpredictable, Graham, and there are showers around. There has been rain this morning, but right at the moment it's dry and warm, so we don't know just what the drivers are going to face, and that's something that'll be playing also on their minds.
Oh yeah, well, like last night I was ready to build an ark and get the animals in 2x2. It's absolutely flooded. So here's how they line up then for this race. Frankie Chen and Marci Lee are on row 1 with Alex Young and the series leader Aditya Patel in P4. Rahul Fry has a welcome return and she's in the 5th spot from KOU. Then Thomas Fjellbach, he's going to be looking very forward to Aditya Patel in P4 because Fjellbach, his main rival is Aditya Patel in the championship. Then at the back of the grid there, we've got Kimi Chin from Johnson Huang, Alex Aru from Kyung Wee Lim, Daniel Bielski from Australia with Massimo Vignali, and Ricky Yun rounds up the 17-car field.
Now that Ricky's in place, that was an interesting experience for him, no doubt, coming onto the front straight to line up and having a spin. Hopefully he's got that out of his system already, and we'll see some good clean racing.
Yeah, a little pre-race nerves there by Ricky Yun, but there is the man of the moment, Alex Young, and Mark's down on the grid with him.
Alex, you've always tended to do well on your home track. What's the goal for today's race, given you have the 35 kgs in the car?
Well, I think anywhere in the top 3 would be a great result. But when conditions are tricky like this, it makes it very interesting. Could end up winning, could end up going off. But, you know, I know the track pretty well. I like the conditions like this, so I think I'm going to really enjoy my race.
Thanks very much and best of luck. Back to you up in the commentary booth.
Thanks, Mark. Well, it's going to be interesting. Frankie Cheng taking pole, as we saw in the pole shootout. So starting alongside Marci. Marci doesn't have a weight penalty. We heard Rene Koneberg talking about that. By virtue of finishing 1st, 2nd and 3rd at round 7 at Pen Bay, Thomas Fjellbach will carry a 50 kilo success penalty. Alex Young will have a 35 kilo success penalty. And Frankie's got a 20 kilo success penalty. So as he's rightly said, keep an eye on Marci and Aditya. They don't have that extra weight. Now that weight, they're going to have to slow down a little bit more on that fast run into turn 1. And that's exactly what we see Marci. He likes that advantage. He'll jump on the leaders into turn 1. So I think you could find by the time we get to turn 3, Marci might be leading this race.
And let's not forget about the actual overall standings. We've got Aditya Patel 4 points in front of Thomas Fjellbach, then Frankie's 12 behind Aditya, and Alex Young's only 16 behind. So the top 4 are at the front of the grid. So this race is going to be some real cut and thrust action because there's, 25 points for the win? So Alex Young, theoretically, if the front top 3 of the overall classification have a bit of a nightmare, he could be going into round 9 as the leader of the overall series.
Mark seems to have Frankie Cheng, the man who's sitting on pole. Let's cross down to him now on the grid.
Well, Frankie, you are on pole, of course, but you do have 20 kilograms in the car. Is it all about the start for you today?
20 kilogram isn't really too bad, and I think the first 5-6 laps is very important. The track conditions are very slippery, as everybody is on the slick tires, and also my ribs is not feeling very good, quite painful at the moment. And I do my best. Let's hope for a good result.
Thanks very much, Frankie. Best of luck. Back to you in the commentary booth.
Thanks, Mark. Well, that's interesting, Graham. I didn't expect to hear Frankie. He sounded a little negative almost. I mean, I know he's got the race face on. He's concentrating to get the best out of the car off this standing start. We'll see a rolling start for race 2 a little bit later today, but certainly he's going to be very, very focused on getting into that first turn first, and he's moving his way right back into this championship, and he'll be looking to try and build on what he was able to succeed with in Taiwan. It was a fantastic run.
Okay, so Frankie Chen is on pole, so let's work out and find out how these guys actually get to the front of the grid.
We've got some really exciting regulation changes this year for the Audi R8 LMS Cup. The one that the viewers will most notice is definitely Super Pole. All of the drivers go out and do a 15-minute qualifying session, and then the top 8 from that session will get to do a single lap of qualifying. They all go out in reverse order, one car effectively on its own on track, and they try to set down the best time to set the qualifying for the first race.
And we have another change for push to passes. You have to split your push to passes in qualifying for the first session qualifying, and then for Super Pole. So it's you have to gamble. It's really interesting for the spectators, but even for the drivers, because you don't know what other drivers do.
This year we have 2 types of starting procedure. So as in the past, we have a rolling start for race 1, and then in race 2 we have a standing start. Colleagues in Germany have spent quite a lot of time developing a system.
We developed a launch control which allow the driver to, when you want to start the car, to push the throttle completely down, release the clutch as quick as possible, and all the work will be done by the launch control to control the slip of the tires and to give them the best possible acceleration.
The system will make the work for the driver, honestly. So it's interesting to watch because it's so noisy and so loud.
We this year introduced a set of new rear wing supports which will bring the position of the wing around about 150 millimeter more to the back. The effect of this will be that at the same wing angle you will have a higher downforce as before.
It means we have more aerodynamic on the rear axle. The rear axle is going to be more stable for the race, for the long distance. This is really, it's even nicer to drive, honestly.
One of the features we are introducing in the R8 LMS Cup this year is our new brake balance system. This system will allow a much better brake pressure distribution between the front and the rear wheels, and on the same hand it allows more brake force in the rear compared to the last year's car.
Some other changes we've got, the drivers have now got 2 sets of tyres to use all race weekend instead of the one that we've had in the past.
It will give us a better performance of the car, higher grip, and this should result in better lap times than the years before.
We already saw it in qualifying, we had faster times. It's a different tyre compound, and the setup changes a little bit into an understeer with these new tyres, but you just have to adapt as a driver.
Yeah, a great innovation, Super Pole. It really brings the top 8 together in a battle for the pole position. This one, it's a rolling start, and they start coming off the grid. If I was Thomas Fjordbach, you'd want to try and get in front of Rahul Fry and KOU, because his main rival Aditya Patel is on P4, so just watch out for that, for the rolling start. And of course you've got the battle with Frankie Chen and Marchi Lee. Frankie will be on the left hand side as you watch it, and Marchi will be on the right hand side, so there'll be a straight drag race down to the first turn. There's Rahul Fry in the Castrol 66 car. She's returning after racing in Europe, and of course there is Aditya Patel, the season leader. Just to remind you again, Sepang is always a great circuit. Audi loves coming to Malaysia. We have a great distribution here in Malaysia. If you want an Audi car, there are always showrooms around, and we are getting ready then for another 12-lap classic here at the Sepang circuit. And Frankie will be warming those tyres up. It's looking outside the commentary booth. It's bit cloudy and hazy, but there's no rain in the sky, so we should have a dry race. Of course, we did have some rain this morning, so the track is drying out, and hopefully these cars will get quicker and quicker as we go by.
One of the features, of course, of a Formula One style circuit is the long straights, the short corners, and we talk short corners, that turn 1-2 complex is particularly tight, so you're really getting the speed of the cars down. They go from 240 kilometres an hour down to 80 into that zone of the circuit, but also some high speed corners. And high speed corners is what we could say, it separates the men from the boys. So the real racers like the high speed corners because that's where you have real commitment. So you'll see guys with really good experience. We're talking about Alex Young, it's his home track, he knows the place backwards. Marchie Lee's another one, Frankie Cheng's another one, that are going to be very, very quick through those parts of the circuit. So it's going to be very interesting as this race unfolds. But certainly the guys will be doing what they can to get the heat in the tyres, and you might think with ambient temperatures around the mid-30s and high humidity, you don't really need to get heat into those tyres. But the grip off the start and certainly into that braking point into turn 1 is where this race is going to unfold. And then we've seen it time and time again. We've seen it in Audi R8, but certainly in Formula One at this circuit, Graham, that turn 1-2 complex really does mix things up.
So now they go round Sunaway Lagoon, and we'll have Frankie Chen taking over the pace of the field as the safety car will gradually peel off into the pit lane. Of course, Sepang, they have these 2 long straights. They're under 1 kilometre long with 1 hairpin turn joining them up. So the safety car now starts to speed up and peels off, and now Frankie leads the field. There's 2 back stragglers there. I think that is Daniel Bielski and Ricky Yun that have to speed up a little bit. Otherwise they're going to get caught. So Frankie's just got to slow it down a little bit more because these 2 back markers need to get onto the tail of the field. So let's just see if they are all 17 in line. So we just wait and see what's happening. And it's race time in Sepang for the Audi R8 LMS Cup, the series where angels fear to tread. And it's Frankie Chen who's got the lead. Alex Young's had a stormer and is now 3 wide coming into turn 1. There's a bit of handbags, and Marchionne's gone round all 3 of them, but Alex Young takes the inside line and leads going into turn 3. And here comes now Frankie Chen, but Marchie's got the inside line. It all slows down a little bit, and the Marchie spins. He collides there with the 8 car, but it is Alex Young away from Frankie Chen.
This is not what Aditya Patel, the championship points leader, off the circuit. This is desperately not what he needs to have for his championship run. But Alex Young is taking advantage of all that knowledge he has for this circuit to charge into the front running position. Marchie Lee just a little bit slow out of the corner. That bottlenecked everybody up, and then of course inevitable contact. Thomas Fjordbach now, you see there on the inside moving forward, and Rahel Frey just in a watching brief. Marchie's dropped back as far as 5th, so he's got a little bit of work to do.
Well, I said angels fear to tread in this series, and Marchie Lee was the devil from the start, colliding with Aditya Patel there. So they go into the second half of this lap, and Alex Young is absolutely loving this. He's in the lead, he's got clean space, it's his home track. He could probably drive this backwards for the next 11.5 laps, but Frankie Chen's on the stormer. Alex Fry has got some problems there. She's got, I think that's Chin, number 6 car, who's on the tail of Rahul Fry there. So as they go through the turn 11, we've got here, it is Alex Young from Frankie Chen. After Frankie Chen there, that is the 11 car of KOU. That's the front 3.
Aditya Patel's looking very racy, but KOU, you've just pointed out, we see him on screen, the 2nd car there. A brilliant start. We've seen a number of good runs through this season from the Audi career driver, and he'll be looking to try and make one of these stick because he's been lucky this year to a point, and it tends to unravel for him right towards the end of a race. So he'll be looking to try and get some serious points on the board. He's a little bit further back in the championship, position 9 so far, and he'll be liking to move himself up the order and get a better run as we head towards the closing rounds of the championship. See Marchie there just taking a bit of a look up the inside into turn 15. He's closing onto the tail there of Thomas Fjordbach, and really you can see as he gets down on the power, and KOU's just had, Kimi Chin had just a bit of a slide coming out of the exit of turn 15, applying the power, the very thing we were just talking about.
So they go through the line, and it is still Alex Young in the lead. Now we're just going to wait for the timing, and it's not coming up, so we'll just carry on as per normal. So it is still Alex Young in the lead.
Well, we know he knows this place backwards. As we see, that's a very wide run through there for Jeffrey Lee. That has opened the door up for Andrew Kim, who's been one of the stars, one of the AM class drivers, has done a fantastic job to move himself further forward in this field. Some question about whether or not he should be up with the pros. He's done such a great job since we first saw him introduced earlier in the season, Graham.
No, definitely, and as you can see, the cars are going through quite nicely as we just waiting for
Of course, the main thing that these drivers are going to want to do is take a look at the tyre wear. They're also going to use the push to pass, the conditions too of the circuit. Geez, that was a big braking move for KOU into turn 6, and then you've got Thomas Fjordbach immediately behind him. So they will be looking to mount this challenge, but at the moment Alex Young is getting away quite comfortably, so he's not going to have to push himself. The other addition, of course, we have is push to pass. What that does is give drivers an additional boost of power. They push a button and they have that additional 50 horsepower across 10 seconds. They need to be in a straight line. They need to be hard on the throttle when they apply that. You can't do it in corners. You've got to be hard on the throttle. And on the straights, you'll see a number of drivers use it now. Here, Marchie Lee may use his additional push to pass to get around Thomas Fjordbach, but they only have 15 push to pass to use during the complete length of this race. So they have to pick the time and when they're going to do it. It looks like Marchie may have done it as he fires up the inside into turn 15 and takes that position away now for Thomas Fjordbach.
So they go across the line, and it's still Alex Young in the lead from Frankie Chen and KOU. And we obviously know that other people are watching for other drivers. So let's just update you now on the amateur division here. And it's Andrew Kim in the lead from Daniel Birsky and Johnson Huang.
Rahel Frey now down the inside of Thomas Fjordbach, so she's probably used her push pass to get through. Thomas is a little bit frustrated. He may have used some early to make up some positions, but he'll also have some in reserve to actually fire back a little bit later in the race, and that's one of the strategy plays these drivers have as the race goes on. When do you use it? Do you use it early to get away, as it appears Alex Young may have done? Or do you use it later, keep it in reserve, so that if you want to fire past somebody later in the race as they're starting to struggle with things like fatigue and the heat, that might be your opportunity. So this race is still a long way from over.
Now here's a gamble for you. If you're Marchie in P4, KOU is in P3, he's going to take the weight penalty for the next race. So do you allow him to finish third, you take the fourth position, scores and points, and then you've got the weight advantage over the rest of the field for the next race, so you've got more chance of winning the next race?
I think considering Alex Young's carrying a 35 kilogram penalty from Taiwan and he's leading this race, I'm not sure that perhaps the weight penalty is going to be as big a disadvantage as we first thought.
So Massimo Vignali has a little bit of a problem, and he comes into the pits and talks to the mechanics. And we still got Frankie Chen with KOU all over him. Marchie Lee, of course, is now in front of Thomas Fjordbach, and Thomas Fjordbach must be laughing now because Aditya Patel is out of the race, so he scores no points. So Fjordbach and Frankie Chen and Alex Young are all breathing down on the neck of Aditya Patel now on the overall series title, as now Marchie Lee just tries to find a way past KOU. Rahel Frey is still racing pretty hard as well. She's coming back from her sojourn in Europe, but there you can see Alex Young. He's he started this lap 2.3 seconds ahead. He's probably extending that as Marchie's on the charge with KOU.
Well, a big dive from Marchie under brakes. Very, very experienced campaigner in these cars. You can see just how aggressive there he was on the throttle. He's thrown the car sideways. The thing that does is increase tyre wear. Okay, it's only a 10-lap race. You're not going to have really big problems with your Control Michelin tyre through this particular length of race. But any advantage, even if it's 100th of a second or 1/10 of a second, is going to be compounding over the course of that 10-lap race. So he wants to be a little bit careful. He doesn't lose too much of the advantage he has, given that he has such great experience here. But Rahel Frey's managed to lock in under the tail there of the under the tail of the double duck car of Marchie Lee, the 88 car, of course, and she will be pretty keen to push forward because, as you say, she's missed around to the championship. The car has still been in pretty good hands with Eduardo Mortara running it last time round. We saw him right in the mix of battle and having won, of course, round 5 of the championship. So it still is showing very good pace, the Castrol car, and Rahel will be very keen to get back towards the front of the field and stand on the podium in this race.
And let's not forget about Daniel Bilski in the amateur division. He's quite happy because there's no Ashraf Deval, his main competitor, in this race. So Daniel Bilski is currently lying second behind Andrew Kim. So he'll be taking some points over the weekend to boost himself into leading this amateur classification, as Marchili and KOU are still pounding on Frankie Chen's door for that P2 spot. Rahel Fry is just watching from the back just to see if anyone capitalises, and if they make a mistake, she can just get past this 3-car train.
There's a very, very disappointed Aditya Patel. He's been a real standout this year, hasn't he? He's been consistent. He's the one driver in the top list of this championship table at the moment who hasn't won a race, but his consistency's been there. As KO just slips a little bit wide in the number 11 Audi Korea car, and that gives Marchie a little bit more of a sniff of potential position changes. So Aditya Patel, very disappointing for him, a fantastic young driver from India, represents his country very, very well and drives very, very well. And this was a good chance for him, he felt, to actually stand on the top step of the podium, but unfortunately he's standing in the pit garages watching this race with us as things unfold, and Marchie takes that position away.
So Marchie into P3, and now he's gunning for Frankie Chen. So as they finish the laps with 8 to go, I think Mark's down with Aditya Patel, and we can hear what happened from the start of the race.
Aditya, desperately disappointing for you at the start. Just talk us through what happened there.
I had a fairly decent start. The turn 1 seemed pretty good, and turn 2, all of them ran wide, the 3 cars in front of me, so I stuck my nose down the inside. I think Marchie was a bit eager to get on the power, and I was almost alongside him, so he kind of lost his car and came into me. It damaged the car a bit too much to continue, so I guess that's racing though.
Okay, thanks for talking to us. Back upstairs to the commentary booth.
Thanks, Mark. Well, there you go. It kind of looked a little bit like that. Marchie, we know, is very, very aggressive. Whether or not the stewards decide post-race there is anything in that, we don't know. I mean, it's very tight. It's very hard for you not to get through on the opening lap through 1 and 2 without some level of contact. So it may have just been the wrong place at the wrong time. So frustration there. Did you see Marchie as we were just about to cross down to Mark, sounding the horn on the tail of the number 99 car just to let Frankie know he was there?
But don't you, this is what's good. When you see contact, it means something. As Marchie ducks down and tries to take now KOU, little bit of contact, and opens the door. And look at Rahel Fry, as I said, she was watching everyone just to see if they make a mistake, and they have, and she's breezed past, but Marchie's got the inside line, so Rahel jumps up to P4. So it's Alex Young from Frankie Chen, Marchie Lee. Now Rahel is going to be drafting Marchie, so hopefully down these long 2 straights after Sunway Lagoon, she can possibly jump up and take Marchie Lee's position.
She's doing a great job and really racing. We're talking about those high-speed corners. She actually had an attack on him there. If it had perhaps been one of the AM drivers, she may have actually been able to pull off that move around the outside, but it was Marchie Lee. Marchie knows this place pretty well too, just like the guy who's still leading this field, now 2.8 seconds, but he's just controlling the gap. He'll know where the guys are on track as to how things are going. But KO, how frustrating. We've seen this from him so many times. He's been right in that mix for a potential podium finish, and then something inevitably drops him a little bit further back down the order. So hopefully he can mount a recovery as we look at the list as we head into lap number 6. It's Alex Young leading, Frankie Cheng in P2, Marchie Lee. We see him all over the back of Frankie there into position 3 in the grey double duck car. Then it's Rahel Frey in the green Castrol car immediately behind them. KOU, Thomas Fjordbach, position 6, a little bit further back, I think, than we probably would have expected, but he's carrying that 50 kilo weight penalty. We're talking about the 35 kilo weight penalty the man on screen in the number 1 car is carrying, not really having much of an impact, but of course we didn't work into that equation the Alex Young factor at Malaysia.
Oh, definitely, and Marchie's now jumped up to P2, so Frankie Chen has now Rahel Fry chasing him, and Rahel Fry, a really good talented driver, so it's got to be odds on that she's probably going to get onto the podium by the end of the race. Daniel Bilski now, he's leading the amateur division from Andrew Kim, Alex Au, and Kyung Wee Lim from Johnson Huang, and Ricky Yun has jumped up to P15. Aditya Patel is out of course, and Massimo Vignali has also retired. So Alex Young, being consistent, is basically being between 2.5 and 2.7 seconds lead. So I think he just wants to pace the car for the next race, which is a race 9. We're coming up in a couple of hours' time. So keep joining us on Audi ROUND8 You've got 2 for the price of 1 today. 2 great races live streaming around the world.
Just looking at the timesheets there, it looks like Kimi Chin set the fastest lap. We saw him have a what they call in motorcycle terms a tank slapper coming out of turn 15 and got a little bit squirrely earlier in the race, but he's gathered it back up again now and into position number 7. So keep an eye on the blue Sparks models car at the top of the screen there, and immediately behind him, Stefano Montesi. The Italian driver's been having a good run. Now, what's happened here? Alex Young's got problems because that is Marchi Lee's closed right up on his tail. He looks like he's lost wholesale time. Where is Alex Young? Is he still leading this race? We'll see in the next shot. Yes, he's just clear, but look at the gap. He had 2.8 seconds last time round. Now, Marchi's pretty good, but he's not 2.8 seconds better a lap than Alex Young. So clearly the Malaysian's suffering some kind of issue. So we'll see how that goes on. That'll be frustration for him. When he started this season, when we were all the way back in Zhuhai in China, he was just incredible. He almost looked like he had the Formula One eyes. He was just so committed. He was in the garage with the engineers. He was working with the car. There was no question that he was going to take pole and win both races. Sadly, the second race we had to draw short. He didn't get championship points, but he just dominated that weekend, didn't he, Graham? And we expected probably to see a similar sort of thing here this weekend.
Yeah, I just wondered whether Alex may have slipped a gear because he seems to be back on pace, but Marchi Lee, you can't give away that amount of time to a former champion. So we've got 2 champions of the Audi R8 LMS Cup here, battling out for the lead. Frankie Chen, of course, has got Rahul Fry in P4 from KOU and Thomas Fjordbach in P6.
Well, whilst you're explaining that, I've just had another look at the timesheets, and the pop-up has gone to the fastest lap. It's not Kimi Chin anymore. A 2:10.9 last time round from Marchi Lee. When Alex Young, who's been consistent, he probably dropped off a little bit to a 2:13.5, but that's 2.6 seconds. That was the gap. So that's why Marchi Lee has come forward. So I apologise to Marchi. He is capable of pulling 2.6 seconds in on Alex Young, and he's shown just that. Now, whether he's used all his push to pass to do that in one last-ditch effort to try and get himself to the front of the field and try and take the Malaysian for this victory, we'll only find out in the post-race interviews. But really, that was a blinding lap. So he's as much as 2 seconds a lap faster than anybody else in the field.
So he's thrown the kitchen sink at this lead, and hopefully now he can just hang on and psych Alex Young out as he tries to come on the inside of Alex Young around this hairpin turn. They're doing about 80 kilometres now, and then they reach 240 down this long straight until they get down into turns 1 and 2. So we've now got about 5 laps to go, and it's Alex Young in the lead, under a second from Marchi Lee, Frankie Chen and Rahul Fry from KOU. Thomas Fjordbach, you've got to think he needs to get on the pace a little bit more, because the more points he wins now, he's going to be increasing that lead against Aditya Patel.
It is important, but also Aditya Patel's going to record 0 points. And Thomas Fjordbach may be just managing that 50 kilos. He might be in a spot where he feels, I can't get much further forward, but I can't drop any further back. So here's the 59 of Daniel Bilski and the 5 car of Andrew Kim. So this is for the lead of the AM class. There is going to be a position change or not. No, Bilski, that's into turn 1, 2. It's going to be very difficult to try and get past there. Be a drag race now down through turn 3 and up the hill into turn 4. But Bilski's run wide. He's run wide to just cut Andrew Kim out. But Andrew Kim's been exceptional this year. You've got to wonder whether he may have some sort of issue. Bilski's been very good, but the Be Quick team, the Thailand-based team, are running this car. The whole operation has come to run the car in the Audi R8 LMS Cup, the first time in the 4 seasons of the Cup that they've actually been open to other teams to compete and run cars in the series. And the Be Quick team have shown to be very, very good. Well, we've seen Bilski standing on the top step of the podium so far this year in the AM class, so he's been doing a very, very good job.
So as they come round for the next lap, it's now Alex Young, Marchi Lee. Of course, Marchi Lee had that blistering lap, took about 2.5 seconds out. Rahul Fry is just pacing herself. There's going to be one last late charge here for the P3 spot on the podium, and Frankie Chen, of course, can see that green Castrol car in his rear view mirror as they now come down to turn 15. So this is where it's at the moment. It looks like Alex Young has got enough daylight between himself and Marchi Lee now. The last time they went over the line, it was a 0.765 difference. He's probably got away from Marchi Lee a little bit more as they cross the line. Let's just see what the gap is as they cross the beam. And it is currently now, just waiting. And look at Rahul Fry. This could be a move by Rahul Fry. Drafting now. Is she going to pull out and overtake Frankie Chen? Coming on the wide outside. Frankie protects his position. And now she comes on the inside. This is a really good move here by Rahul Fry. Can she keep it together? Now Frankie tries to keep the inside line, but that's great racing by Rahul Fry. She set that move up right at the top of turn 15.
Brilliant drive by Rahul Fry. You could see, as you rightly said, she set that up. And this is where I think probably the weight advantage is going to upset some of the cars. It is going to throw, you've got a lot of mass to move around. It could be 35 kilos, could be 50 kilos in Thomas Fjordbach's case. Certainly Frankie's carrying 20. It moves the car a little bit around more than you would expect. You see it in your own road car when you put a passenger in. The car handles differently because of that mass in the car. So it's not without some level of effect, and that may be part of the reason that that Alex's pace isn't where he wants, but he's just punched out a 2:10.6. Again, you would almost guarantee that is push to pass. So whilst we spoke about it very early in the coverage, the drivers can choose when they use their 15 push to pass. It's clear Marchi used his to catch up to the tail of Alex Young, but Alex clearly had some in reserve to be able to then drive away a little bit more, and we know Rahul Frey's a master at using the push to pass, and she's just taken position number 3 away from Frankie Chen, who again is carrying that weight penalty.
So the car's settled down, and we've got Young, Lee, Frankie Chen, Rahul Fry, KU, Thomas Fjordbach's in P6, and in the amateur division, it's the same as you are really. Daniel Bilski's leading from Andrew Kim, Alex Ao's in 3rd place from Kwon Wee Lim, Joseph Huang, and Ricky Yun with Massimo Vignali, of course, retiring. That's the field then in the amateur title. But Alex Young, he's put another 0.7 seconds into his lead, but Marchi Lee's coming hard and fast going into that turn.
Well, we'll see whether Marchi's got much left. We'll see whether, in fact, Frankie might have some in reserve to be able to fire back at Rahul Fray. But certainly these guys are all in title contention. So the cream, as they say, has risen to the top. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out. Now, what will be interesting to see is where that AM class battle's gone. So we've got a bit of a drafting war a little bit further back. That is KO and Frankie. So KO's mounting some level of recovery. It'd be nice to see him get himself back onto the podium because he's deserved it. He's really, really worked hard. He did the crossover on Frankie and done a similar sort of move. So he's keeping close tabs on what Rahul Fray did. And that's really played out very, very well for him.
So KOU jumps up to P4, and one of the great innovations in this series has been that push to pass, because if you're a driver, you don't know how much the other driver has done. So do you use your push to pass to defend? Do you push to pass to attack? It's a great dimension for the drivers. And also, when you're driving these cars at 240 kilometres an hour, you've got to think about your braking, you've got to think about the speed, you've got to think about the tyres, plus you've got push to pass. It's a real mental exercise for these drivers.
Well, it is, and what's interesting too is they don't have radio communication back to the pits, so they can't compare, hey, engineer, just nip down the hall and find what the other guy's doing. How much has he got left? One of the things that they'd like, the drivers have been saying as an innovation, is to have a digital display on the car, on the back, as we see, that's the 38 car. That's, it's Rick Yun, who's been having a few dramas with spinning in this race, a rookie in this series, but he'll come to grips with what's going on. The drivers want to see a digital display on the back or the side of the car in front that lets them know how many push to pass they've got, because that makes it a whole heap easier. Do I keep some in reserve? He's got 5 left, or he's got 2 left, or he's got 12 left. Do I dive now? Do I dive later? I think that's a little bit like cheating. I think they need to keep guessing. It's made it interesting. It's a one-make category. Let's not forget, all these cars are identical. So in all reality, if all the drivers are of equal ability, these cars should all be racing for the front position. But you want to make things different. You want to make it interesting. And of course, with the drivers, the variable there is they have strengths and weaknesses in different areas. At this race, of course, Alex Young has a huge strength because he's a local. He knows this circuit intimately.
And you love to see contact as well, because it shows that for the drivers, this championship means something. They want to win. There's that desire, there's that passion for this series. So great cut and thrust and contact within the series. as we go through with, now we're on the penultimate lap, and it's still Alex Young is taking 2.2 seconds out of Marchi Lee as I do my arithmetic. Rahul Fry looks set for P3, then it's KOU, and Thomas Fjordbach now is looking to jump up a place and overtake Frankie Cheng.
So Alex, Marchi, Rahul, KO. Now KO's the one that needs to move forward in this championship. If he can keep fourth, that will be a great advantage to him. So we see it's the battle still for the AM class. That's Andrew Kim and Daniel Bilski still going at it. They've been at this the entire race. So Andrew Kim's back to P1 in the AM class. Bilski's really doing a very good job, and I think one of his secrets he discovered in the heat at Taiwan. It's called a cool suit. He said, I don't know how I'm going to survive through Taiwan if I don't have one. He introduced it, got himself to the top step of the podium, and I think he's probably had it bronzed. I guess that'll be his greatest tool in his kit for each round, and certainly coming to Sepang. The heat, the cabin temperatures in these cars, you'll be amazed to hear can get as high as 60 degrees.
And it's humid, very, very humid now with the track drying out. We had a lot of rain this morning, so that's now evaporating into the ambient temperature as well. So Alex Young just pulled in another best lap here at 2:10.277. So he's just cementing his leadership over the rest of the field. Marchi Lee second, Rahul Fry third. And the main story at the moment here is, can Daniel Bilski regain the lead against Andrew Kim here in this amateur division? And let's not forget there's the Four Rings Trophy as well, and Marchi Lee is leading that from KOU and Frankie Chen.
So getting very interesting. We're down to the final stage of the race. We'll now see who has additional push to pass. And it looks like KO may even have a little bit in last lap boards out. So this is where it's all going to come down. The long straights are where people are going to look to attack. A driver the calibre of Rahul Fry, huge international GT experience. She's going to be able to defend too. But KO, look at this. It's a drag race. What is he doing? He's probably got a little bit of push to pass. He needs that clear space, and he's going to dive himself into a position. But no, we're just talking about Rahul Fry's experience. She'll position the car where it's a little bit more difficult for KO to find that way past. She protects the line into turn 2. Now it's into the fast sweeping turn 3. And it's a little bit of advantage she might be able to gain here, taking a fast line through, then up the hill into the turn 4 right-hander, and see whether or not she can retain that advantage. This is a big passing opportunity at this part of the circuit, and it looks like she's going to carry it through here. There's still, of course, the run between turns 14 and 15. There may be one more opportunity. If KO's got any more push to pass left, he may take a chance there to do something. So Frankie Cheng, weight's probably dropped him back a little bit. The pole sitter now position 5. Thomas Fjordbach not really in a position to attack. But Stefano Montesi's moved onto the tail of the young Dane, and that's not a bad result. The Italian, who I think you'd be happy if you called him a veteran. He's been doing this a long time. He could be running in the AM class, but likes to push himself and race amongst the pros. And this year he's been very, very good.
So this is where it's at the moment, the battle for P3. It looks like Alex Young set for the win. Marchi Lee's set for the runners-up spot, but can KOU in this last 2 kilometres of this race, can he overtake Rahul Fry? Thomas Fjordbach's going to be in P6. As now they come down, as you can see, this back straight, and it is Alex Young. He's almost coasting now down this back straight from Marchi Lee. There's Rahul Fry in P3. Can KOU get on the back of Rahul Fry to just take that last spot on the podium? Into turn 15, the last corner. Alex Young from Marchi Lee. So Alex Young, he knows this track very, very well, and he comes across. And Alex Young wins round 8 of the Audi R8 LMS Cup from Marchi Lee. Is Rahul Fry going to manage to get to third? KOU's got his foot down onto the floor. But no, it is Rahul Fry on the P3. Then it is KOU from Frankie Chen. Thomas Fjordbach is 6th. And Stefan Montesi is 7th from Jeffrey Lee.
That's a good result. Second win, well, third win really, even though the points don't score from round 2 of the championship from Zhuhai. So that's the third real win, third time that we've seen Alex Young cross the line as the race leader. Declared the winner with a checkered flag in 2 of those occasions, and that's full points to him and moves him nicely back into the championship. Of course, we saw Frankie, Alex and Marchi miss the round earlier in the year at South Korea, where they were battling in the Nürburgring 24-hour race and finished a very, very credible level, 11th. So a good result for them. And unfortunately what that did, though, is it allowed their opposition, so Aditya Patel and Thomas Fjordbach, to jump ahead in the championship points. And they're scrambling right at the moment to try and get themselves back into the championship fight as we head towards the final round of the championship at Shanghai later in the year. So there's Alex Au on screen in the CTVS car. He probably finished a little bit further back than he would have liked, but as we saw speaking to him in Taiwan, not a big fan of the heat, so he said, I struggled a little bit more than I would have expected. He does a lot of fitness work to keep himself up to speed, and he was able to string another result together. Again, it's consistency, so he's finished third in the AM class. But Alex Young, you couldn't fault him. I think what that race showed that most of those guys were talking about strategy. When they used their push to pass, they all wiped it out very early in the piece because nobody had anything in the end. So let's have a bit of a recap. Big drag race off the start. All the action, though, was at turn 2 as we dived in. You see Frankie Cheng held the field, but Marchi tried to go around the outside 3 wide. He managed to almost do it, but ran a little bit wide into 1. That allowed Alex to take that position away. Frankie tried to duck up the inside, and you watched the 4th car there just immediately behind the grey car, and then the spin. He got onto the throttle too quick, Marchi perhaps, and spun across in front of Aditya Patel. It's essentially taken the points leader out, and that was game over for the Indian driver. So he was forced to watch this race with us from the pit garages. After that, Alex got away. That was the break he needed. Frankie was into 2nd, Fjordbach was up to 3rd, but he was going to start to struggle carrying a 50-kilo weight penalty, a success penalty from the last round in Taiwan. You can see Marchi there getting onto the throttle, but here we have the winners. They're back into the pits, and a very welcome result in front of his home fans, and very happy to be number 1 again for Alex Young. That's a fantastic result.
Yeah, so Alex Young wins the overall race, just to round up the other 2 divisions. Marchi Lee wins the 4 Rings Trophy, and Andrew Kim actually got home quicker than Daniel Bilski, but Daniel Bilski, the Australian, actually now has the overall series lead in the amateur class. I'm sure Alex Young is ecstatic. He's now put a real marker down onto this championship with also Marchi Lee. So I'm sure he'll be waxing lyrical about his victory. As we can see, some highlights. That was Marchi Lee overtaking Frankie Chen. And that was Ricky Young just spinning. But now I think Sophie is down with the Malaysian master.
Alex, congratulations! What a fantastic start at the very beginning, and you set a gap. But when Marchi right back behind you, was he pushing harder than you would like?
No, I was pushing hard, but I wasn't using my push to pass. I only saved my push to pass for the last few laps. So once I saw Marchi catch up, and he's got less weight than me, I knew he was quick. But I knew he'd use his push to passes to get to me, so I got 14 left. So I just used him the last few laps, and I was able to maintain the gap. The key was being quick over the first few laps. I had to push harder for a few laps for that lap to come, because I know Atika's not wearing ballast, and Marchi's not wearing ballast, so they could have easily come back at us. So, yeah, very happy.
Thank you so much, and back to our commentator.
Thank you, Sophie. And just to reprise some of this exciting racing, race 8, and there's Alex Young taking the checker flag again from Marchi Lee. And that was quite interesting what Alex was speaking about, the strategy of a racing driver, actually thinking about what the other driver is doing. As he said, you know, Marchi gambled using all these pushes to passes, but Alex was okay with that because he knew that he had 14 pushes to passes up his sleeve.
Down to Sophie with Marchi Lee.
Marchi, halfway through the race, and you just right close up to Alex. And did you use all your push to passes in order to set the fastest lap time?
Just have to concentrate on the set the fastest lap. It's a big gap on Alex, but I think the tire is using quite a lot in the beginning. So I did really tried my best, and was a good start. Then somebody touched me in turn 2, then slightly spin. Luckily that they pushed me back forward and I passed few car. Good show for the spectator. So looking for a win definitely next race.
Thank you so much, Marty. And the back to our commentator.
Thanks, Sophie. Yes, well, it was interesting. I wonder who touched him. But as we said, I mean, it was one of those things. This is a primary racing incident. Once he's sideways, there was really nowhere for him to go, and poor old Aditya Patel was just the right person in the wrong place at the wrong time. So he's ended up wearing the unfortunate nature of that. So anyway, we'll see how things pan out after this race.
Okay, let's just take a reprise then. With now Aditya Patel for the next race. It's going to be interesting to see where he lines up on the grid as well, because he didn't have a finish. But now let's say welcome back to Rahul Fry. She's down with Sophie.
Well, Rahul, what a fantastic overtaking move over Frankie, and just talk us through that.
Yeah, it was a close one, but I had the feeling that I really have to go now, otherwise it's too late. And when you have the feeling, you just have to do it. It was a little bit hard move, but Frankie did well. Frankie was really, really fair. So yeah, we saw really good racing. It was enjoyable. At the beginning, it was quite difficult to keep the car on track, but everybody, I have to say, everybody did really well. And yeah, this is fun to drive the Cup, actually.
Okay, thank you so much, Rahul. And back to our commentator.
I love that. When you have the feeling, you just have to do it. Well, there's some advice for any budding race drivers that are watching this. That Rahul Fry, she almost sounded motherly. Everybody did a lovely job, and they did the right thing. It was all very good. She drives brilliantly. We know that. That's why she's invited to compete all over the world. But yeah, some very good motherly advice. When you have the feeling, just go for it.
Okay, welcome back, and it's champagne time. We are going to be having the podium presentations and celebrations for this Audi R8 LMS Cup. There's Rahul Fry. She had a very, very strong drive and secures P3. In second place is the former Audi R8 LMS Cup champion, Marchi Lee. Comes out bang on cue. And the winner of this race is Alex Young. So now it's time for the anthem. Very well done, Alex Young. I think Marchie's saying, I'm going to be there next race, so don't get used to the top spot on the podium. And now we have the presentations. Alex Young gets his winner's trophy. I'm sure there'll be many to come later on in the season. Now Marchely gets his runners-up trophy. I'm sure he'll want to swap that one for the winner's trophy in a couple of hours' time. And Rahul Fry picks up the third place trophy in the overall division of round 8 of the Audi LMS Cup. And it's now time for the group photo. And now everyone's going to make a quick dash because the champagne's now coming out. Marchie can't get someone's welded his bottle so he can't spray the champagne. And now we have the, I think it's going to be the amateurs coming out next. So waiting for his Alex Au. He had a good drive. Next out will be the series leader now after his runners-up spot. Daniel Bielski, he's happy. As Ashraf Deval's not racing this weekend, he's piling on the points. He's very happy indeed, as you can see. And Andrew Kim takes the winner's trophy here at Sepang.
Well, we're very glad to see the Malaysian master took the win in his homeland, and plus we're very happy to see different faces showing on the podium, which means the series is getting more competitive than ever. And of course, one race finish, but one more to go. So please join us at 13:10 Beijing time this afternoon on our official website, Audi R8 LMScup.com. See you soon.